Hi there. In the live video above, I mentioned that there's a positive intention behind every behavior. But what about being unfocused, moving your legs all the time, forgetfulness, lack of time understanding, and other executive function issues normally associated with ADHD? Can there possibly be a positive intention behind those things as well? Let me give you a couple of examples. If a person is afraid of spiders, and you ask them how big the spider that scared them was, they will almost always overestimate the size of the real-world spider. It turns out that in their minds, they saw a spider that was much larger than the real-world spider. And if you ask them what image of a spider that popped up in their mind, they will be able to show you with their hands how big the inner spider was. And it's typically anywhere from handball size to human size. But why would the subconscious mind subject you to a scary inner image of an enormous spider? What positive intention could there be? The subconscious mind of a person with fear of spiders has at some point in their lives learned, maybe through other people's fears or just through child reasoning, that spiders are dangerous and you must stay away from them at all cost. The subconscious mind then handles this simply by creating a really scary inner image of the spider that is much scarier than the real-world spider. This way the subconscious mind is trying to help you get really scared so that you move away from the spider. It's an effective mental strategy when you first adopt it. Only years later do you realize that the strategy is keeping you from certain things or making you look ridiculous in environments where there are spiders naturally. As you get older, you learn rationally that most spiders are harmless, but your automated subconscious response doesn't change by you learning something in a different part of your system. The original response is still there, trying to help you get out of there whenever you spot a spider. This is an example of a mental strategy that is still trying to help you, but is no longer helpful or useful. It's also an example of a mental strategy where the positive intention is intact, but no longer aligned with who the child or the adult is today or how he sees the world. Most people's excessive angers are the same. The anger is there to help the child achieve something, and the anger is no longer doing it in a way that is appropriate for the age of the child. So we see the behavior as bad or wrong and immature. Instead, you can look at it merely as a pattern that is stuck in the child's mind, just trying to help the best it can with the only strategy it knows. This is where the power of the positive intention comes in. When you know about the positive intention, you can help the child decode it, and then help the child institute a new strategy instead of the old one. Or, at the very least, create some awareness around the fact that there was a positive intention behind the behavior, and in the process, help your child keep its self-worth intact. Another example of positive intention where you wouldn't be looking for it is with an adult client of mine. He could not retain information whenever he tried to learn something. He was being promoted and was seriously afraid that he would ruin something in the large facility he was working in when he got the full responsibility of it. It was pretty clear that his cognitive abilities were excellent in other areas. His mind functioned as it should. He could remember incidents from his childhood. He could remember lyrics from songs going 25 plus years back and so on. He was obviously intelligent, even though he didn't acknowledge this fact himself. When we dug into what happened when he was trying to learn something, he described it with a swooshing sound and a hand movement that suggested something being thrown away. When we dug further, it turned out that when he was 14, 15 years old, he hated school and everything about it. He had had a really rough time in all his school years, so he more or less consciously decided that learning was for everyone else, and he didn't need any of that stuff. It was clear to himself as an adult that he had done this with a positive intention to stop all the defeats, all the failures when he was a teenager. This way he was in control and chose to go his own way, and that seemed much better than trying and failing again and again. So his subconscious mind came up with a strategy in the inner map to get rid of any information that appeared to be learning. Throw it away. The systems to retain information were intact. He had just subconsciously been throwing away the learning information all these years before it was put into long-term memory. When we uncovered that strategy with its positive intention, it was easy for him to transform it and align it with his adult desire to learn so that he could retain information much easier from that day on. A last example in this video of a positive intention where we are not normally looking for it is being unfocused. When children and adults want to become more focused in school or at work, it often turns out that on the one hand they really want to pay attention, and on the other hand there's a part of them that really just wants to go play in the schoolyard, or a part of them that thinks that every single input, like movements or sounds, are more interesting than schoolwork. When we look at the mind from that perspective, we can appreciate that different parts of the child's personality can have different motivations. And often these parts are buried in the subconscious mind, so the child isn't even consciously aware of them until the right questions are asked. When the parts are buried in the subconscious mind, they can manifest in different ways, like rapid focus shifts, or moving legs, or boredom, or even hatred towards a subject or school in its entirety. When the subconscious parts are uncovered and become conscious, they also become transformable so that we can update them and align them with the child's current motivations and desires. Below this video are 2 action point sheets for you to print and fill out. The goal with the first one is for you to identify several different inexpedient behaviors that your child has and then speculate about what the positive intention could be. Do this with your partner if you have one. In that process, please realize that we can't know for sure if our speculations are correct, but it will start your process of thinking in terms of positive intention and help you understand what's motivating your child. You may even have gotten some clues from your child, so think back at how your child has tried to explain his behavior previously and see if you can derive some kind of positive intention from that, even though you may have dismissed the explanations before. Remember that the positive intention may no longer be aligned with how your child feels about his behavior today, so you may have to look back at when the behavior started and speculate about what the goal of that behavior could have been back then. The second action point is to talk to your child about the behavior and the positive intention behind it. Print the second action sheet that resembles the flip over I used in the live video and use it to start in the bottom right corner, move to the bottom left corner, and up the goal ladder like I did in the video. Then have the child suggest a new positive behavior based on the top rungs on the goal ladder. For older children, you can have them watch the live video with me so they can see the process and understand the underlying premise of the positive intention before you address their inexpedient behaviors. That was the end of the first module of Reclaiming Hope. I hope that these new ways of looking at your child are already permeating into your conversations with your child and your partner. I've seen parents completely transform their own behavior based on the understanding of the positive intention and the insights that you already have now about the inner map and what's going on in there. And I've worked with families where the children's behaviors went through rapid changes when they were no longer met with scolding, but with curiosity. So if there's just one thing I hope that you take away from this module, it's curiosity. Be curious and start an exploratory journey with your child. In the next module called Transformation in the ADHD Mind, we continue to explore the inner map and look at a couple methods to create rapid transformations in the inner map that causes instant changes in behaviors. I'll see you there.